Hello and welcome to highlights of the 2011 Formula SimRacing World Championship. I'm Simon Adebisi, and after an exciting opening round, the teams now move on to Australia to tackle the first street circuit of the season. 58 laps around the Albert Park Lake, this track is composed almost entirely of tight, slow-speed corners and chicanes and will put the car's brakes to the test. The big news from the paddock was the surprise return of three-time world champion Bruno Marquez, driving for the new 2011 team entry of Netrex Grand Prix, who have returned to FSR after a year-long absence. To the qualifying results, and Twister Racing again set the pole position, this time team owner Artse Kirchhoff getting into the top spot. Bonnet set the second fastest time, and the Too Fast For You team made up the second row of the grid, with Greco in third and Disley in fourth. Aero F1 again made an impression during qualifying, with Jon-Erik Saxon starting in fifth position, just ahead of round one's pole sitter Fredrik Nilsson. Then it was Jarkko Mäkinen, Mikko Puumalainen, Morgan Morand and Marquez rounding out the top 10. Surprisingly, Rasmus Tali was unable to make the top 10 and Lee Morris was only able to take 12th place. Faster Than Speed and Go Speed again struggled with their pace in qualifying. To the race start, in third place, David Greco had an amazing launch, immediately getting alongside Bono Huis. Heading into turn one, Greco made the pass stick around the outside, however teammate Disley span on the exit and off the track. Mäkinen passed Nilsson for fifth place, and into turn three, Tali made a pass on both Morand and de Wit to move up into eighth place. Despite plenty of tyre rubbing, the rest of the field safely made it through the first sector. The opening lap saw plenty of action in the midfield, Go Speed driver Lucas Euler making an incredibly bold pass on Alafot through the high-speed chicane. Bulgarian driver Dejan Kostanov then used his better exit speed to pass both cars around the outside of the Ascari to move up into 14th. Meanwhile, Patrick de Wit completely missed a braking point, running deep into the gravel and dropping down into last place. At the front, it was immediately apparent that the dirty air was having a significant effect on the drivers. While Artse Kirchhoff held the lead with a slight gap back to Greco, Huis could not get close enough to make a passing attempt on the Too Fast For You car. Fourth place Jon-Erik Saxon also appeared to be slower than those behind him, but Mäkinen and Nilsson could do little but follow in a single file behind and hope for a mistake from the Aero F1 car. After an awkward start, Bruno Marquez was stuck behind Morgan Morand, and a little further back the GT Amiga Racing team were up into 11th and 12th position. However, Rudy Van Buren's race ended prematurely when he lost control over the curb and span his car hard into the wall. With Van Buren out and Faster Than Speed driver Kostanov spinning off at turn 1, Blair Disley was now back up into the midfield, fighting with Alain Fott for 13th place. However, an ugly pass at turn 3 left Fott stranded on the curb. Fortunately, he eventually managed to free himself, but only after doing significant damage to his engine. At the front, the leading trio of Kirchhoff, Greco and Huis was slowly pulling away from the rest of the field, and in fourth position Jon-Erik Saxon was being kept honest by both Mäkinen and Nilsson. As the front runners came in for their stops, race leader Kirchhoff locked up into the pit lane, allowing Huis to almost take over first position. With Greco having pitted a lap earlier, the run down into the first corner was always going to be close, but a misjudgment from Greco saw him run hard into the back of Huis's car, bouncing over the grass and barely managing to keep the car from spinning. Fortunately, neither car had any damage and Greco was able to keep going in third position. However, he had lost any chance of a race victory. On the next lap, there was more action at the pit exit. Mäkinen appeared to have done enough to take fourth place, but he ran slightly wide through turn 1, and Saxon made no hesitation to jump on the mistake to retake his position. Just behind, Puumalainen desperately tried to beat Nilsson around the outside, but Puumalainen ran out of room, and Nilsson held on to his fifth position. However, there would be more drama for Puumalainen later on in the lap, when teammate Rasmus Tali attempted a dangerous pass into the high-speed chicane, and not surprisingly the two Mack core cars made contact, with Tali performing a 360 spin across the grass. With no damage, Tali was able to keep going, having only lost a few seconds, but he now had Bruno Marquez close behind him, after Marquez successfully leapfrogged Morgan Morand for 9th place. With Blair Disley retiring after an electrical fault, Lee Morris was now in 11th position, and the Go Speed drivers of Lucas Euler and Jim Parissis were now up into 12th and 13th. In 15th, Wayne White lost a position to Kostanov after a slow pit stop, and a miserable race ended for Patrick de Wit, with the Dutchman spinning and then stalling his car. After failing to pass him through the stops, Jarkko Mäkinen was frantically searching for a way past Jon-Erik Saxon, and in his desperation, Mäkinen locked up into turn 3 and lost his 4th position to Twister driver Fredrik Nilsson. With just 13 laps to go, it was beginning to look like Kirchhoff had his first World Championship win in the bag for Twister Racing when the unthinkable happened and a mechanical issue forced him to suddenly retire, giving Bono Huis an easy run to the finish. The same bad luck also struck down Bruno Marquez with his NetRex car unable to make it to the finish line. With Kirchhoff out, Jon-Erik Saxon was now in place to take his first podium position in 39 starts and the first career podium for Aero F1. However, after a long race of defensive driving, the Finn was being forced to conserve his worn engine, and with just half a lap to go, the smoke slowly began to pour out of the rear of the Aero F1 car. Fredrik Nilsson, who was searching for his first career podium, made a bold pass around the outside of the Ascari, taking the position just 3 corners shy of the finish line. After an eventful race, precision driver Bono Huis again crossed the line in first position, making it 2 from 2 with the perfect opening to his title defence. David Greco finished just 9 seconds behind, again showing that he has got the pace to fight for the wins this year, and a delighted Fredrik Nilsson claimed his best ever World Championship result. Saxon just held on to 4th place ahead of Jarkko Mäkinen in 5th. The Matt Core cars again finished close together, with Boumelainen this time beating Tali to 6th position. Morgan Moran finished in 8th, just ahead of Lee Morris, and Lucas Euler rounded off the top 10, picking up the first point for the Go Speed Racing team. Dejan Kostodanov brought his faster-than-speed machine home in 11th, and Wayne White crossed the line in 12th place after a difficult Grand Prix. Jim Parissis was forced to give up 2 positions in the closing stages of the race due to a fuel problem. So the driver standing sees Huis with a maximum total of 50 points, just 14 points ahead of David Greco. Mäkinen is in a comfortable position with 25 points, tied for 4th is Tali and Boumelainen. Nilsson's podium finish has jumped him up into 6th place, and Saxon is now up into 7th. Kirchhoff and Morris round off the top 10, both with 8 points. Precision have made a great start to their title defence with almost double the points of the Too Fast for You team. Matt Core and Twister Racing are not far behind, but the big surprise is perhaps the performance of Aero F1, who are in a solid 5th place in their first World Championship season. GT Amiga Racing have shown some decent consistency, but will no doubt want to achieve some higher results in order to compete with the top teams. The next round will be the Malaysian Grand Prix, and you can watch that race live as it happens. Simply go to www.psrtv.com on the 24th of April at 5:30 PM GMT. We hope you've enjoyed today's highlights. I'm Simon Adebisi, and we'll see you in a fortnight's time for round 3 of the 2011 Formula SimRacing World Championship.